Hey everybody, it's James Malafetis here. Welcome to the LinkedIn Accounting Client Lead Generation Blueprint. And today's webinar is really exciting because I'm going to actually show you how to get 3 to 5 targeted leads every week without having to spend hours on LinkedIn every day. So this is going to really be a cool webinar. And of all the webinars I think that we've done this year, this is the one that people have enjoyed the most, because I think it's the one that's probably the easiest to action, and we actually get to build up such awesome assets. And it really is something that's very easy to do. It's very easy to give to somebody else to do. It's just consistency. That's all it is, and it will really bring you a lot of leads into your practice. So for those of you that don't know, we run a site called Regular Clients. That's actually the home page. So really our promise is to help accountants, auditors, bookkeepers, tax practitioners, and financial advisors to get a minimum of 2 clients every month forever. Now, we've got various ways that we actually do that. This is just one of those ways for you guys today. So for those of you that don't know me, let me just run through this kind of at breakneck speed. So who am I? I am a chartered accountant, but I left the industry all back in 2011 already to get involved in online marketing. And today I've really come back into the industry to teach you guys, my fellow accountants and fellow professionals, how to actually get leads online, because as you'll see in just a moment, the reason I left was because I didn't know how to do that. So on the other side, I've done a lot of entrepreneurial things. I think I'm that entrepreneurial chartered accountant person. When I was 8 years old, I was picking oranges in the orange tree and selling them for 1 cent. In fact, I think I might have even sold them for half a cent to the passers-by. And I still remember it so well because we had there was a particular green mamba. We had 3 orange trees, and this mamba used to sort of float from one tree to the next. So we never knew where he was, but we knew he was there. My mother would have apoplexy that I was actually walking around and crawling around in these trees to pick the oranges to sell to passers-by. So you see, even as an 8-year-old, in the entrepreneurial world is fraught with danger. Then I've spent probably 25 plus years in the industry itself, half of that in commerce and industry and half as a part in a small audit practice. So commerce and industry, I've worked with some extremely talented entrepreneurial people in the private sector. And then for my sins, I must have had a rush of blood to the head for about 3 years. I actually did a stint in the corporate world in a listed company. Really great for the experience, but that's just not me. I'm more the smaller person. I'm more the hands-on type of guy. And really, as I said to you, in 2011, I was actually forced to leave the profession because we'd lost a number of big clients to the recession, and I just had no idea how to replace them. And it was a very, very sad day for me. But that really started my whole journey into this internet marketing space. And I won't go into that story. I've told that story before, but really, that culminated in me writing my first book called Infinite Sales Funnels. And what I did when I'd written that first book is I approached a number of the CPD providers. And the very first webinar that we did was just before the Practice Management Conference a number of years ago. We got 160 accountants on the webinar. And when we were on that webinar, I made them an offer. So it was a pretty low-key offer. It was just, I think it was $500, and they got a consultation with me, a copy of my book and some videos. And I got 70 of those consultations that I did in a very, very short space of time, which was awesome. Realized, of course, that I had to tweak things and that another book was necessary. And so after going through the notes that I'd made in those 70 consultations, what I then did was I wrote a new book called Accounting Clients on Tap. And this is now specifically for the profession. And I'm glad to say that this has actually become an international #1 bestseller. So that's a little bit of background about me from the perspective of how things have developed. Obviously, what I'm going to show you today doesn't directly affect us, but what it does do is it affects the traffic piece, really, where we can actually drive traffic into our websites, traffic into our sales funnels. And the other thing, of course, that this gives us the opportunity to do that I'm going to show you today is a self-contained system. So let's kind of jump into this. So this should be really interesting. This is a rhetorical question, but I want you guys to ask yourself this. I find this so fascinating when I speak to accountants, and I get this a lot, by the way. Somebody will say to me, James, that LinkedIn, it's, I can't say that word, right? So we'll use the word rubbish. In fact, let's make up a new technical term. We'll combine the two, so we'll make the word crubbish, right? So, James, LinkedIn is crubbish. I've never even got a single lead from it. So I wonder how many of you are in that position. And then what happens is, after that, I go ahead and I explain to them how LinkedIn is put together, right? And as the moment that happens, I can kind of see the lights come on, and then the changes to, please, I need a new LinkedIn profile now. I got to be on LinkedIn, please. So the question that I got to ask you is, well, which camp do you belong to, right? Are you in the crubbish camp, or are you in the, yes, I'm getting regular leads from LinkedIn camp? Either way, I think we're going to teach you some really awesome stuff today. If you're on LinkedIn and you're doing well and you're using it, I'm going to show you how to actually take it to the next level. And if you're not on, or you are on, but your profile is not as good as you would like it to be, I'm really going to help you to just unlock the power in there. And it's very, very easy, as you'll see. I'm going to give you a lot of blueprints, and I'm going to give you templates and all sorts of things today. So it's going to be great. So just speaking of that, when we get to the end of the webinar, I will tell you guys how to get a copy of these slides. Okay, so don't panic. You will get the slides, and I think in this case, these slides are probably more important than most, because you're going to have a lot of the templates in there that you're going to actually be able to use. Right, so we'll sort that out for you just now. So before we dive into the nuts and bolts, let me take you from that person that's saying, oh, LinkedIn is rubbish, to, okay, yeah, please give me a profile. And here's why, right? Now, these stats are not too dated, probably only a few months. So if you look at it, LinkedIn currently is the biggest, certainly business-to-business platform with over 590 million members. So they must be getting up fairly close to 600 million now, and they actually add them at a rate of 2 per second. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous and it's insane. And as you can see there, they're in over 200 countries at the moment. Now, of those, let's call it 600 million, 260 million are active, which means that on a monthly basis they go onto LinkedIn, and 100 million of those go on every single day. All right, so that's pretty significant. And I know I've got probably mostly South Africans on this webinar today, although I do webinars into other countries. Just so that you know, only 170 million of those actually come from the US. So 70% are outside of the US. In fact, if you look at us here in little lowly South Africa, we've got over 6 million users in South Africa alone. I just want you to digest that for a second, right? Because if you know how many taxpayers we've got, that must be pretty close to everybody that can actually pay for our services and that's going to need our services in, the tax-paying population. 6 million plus. And you can see we're ahead of a whole bunch of the European countries. We're ahead of Belgium, Denmark, Portugal, Romania, Sweden, Czech Republic, Finland, Ireland, and a whole lot more. So as you can see, the opportunities in the South African marketplace, and of course worldwide, are absolutely huge. If we look at HubSpot, which is probably one of the best, if not the best, marketing platform out there, even though it costs a bomb, they did a survey, and they reckon 277% is the number that LinkedIn is better for lead generation than any of the other platforms. So you can see Facebook comes in second and Twitter third. So as you can see, the marketers out there, the people that are driving traffic, that are building their businesses, are using LinkedIn when they are dealing in the business-to-business space. It's definitely the premier platform. Also, 39% of people pay for LinkedIn Premium. Okay, so LinkedIn Premium, there's a whole bunch of different packages that they offer, and they retail anywhere from between $30 a month to $120 a month. So if you think of those 600 million people, 39% are actually paying premium. So there's got to be a reason for that. And this might be the reason, or it might be the reason that Microsoft actually bought them in 2016 for $26.2 billion. So that's dollars, firstly, for my South Africans, US dollars. Okay, and that's billion with a B, right? So that's like just too many zeros for us to get our heads around. But if Microsoft are going to go to that length, you've got to know that there's something special about this platform. So if we actually look at LinkedIn, I want you to think about it really as probably the biggest business breakfast in the world, because that's really what it is, right? So imagine you go to this business breakfast, you've got 600 million people there, and the question is, well, how do you actually attract the people that are actually interested in your services? And that's really what we're going to show you today. I'm going to show you how to get into LinkedIn. I'm going to show you how to navigate. I'm going to show you how to find just those people that are going to be pertinent to you. And we're going to show you also then how to take those strangers, because that's who they are, when you first get to the big business breakfast. And I'm going to show you how to take them through a whole process so that they end up in a consultation with you, a one-on-one consultation. So even though we're talking about using LinkedIn online, the goal for us, in fact, is actually to pull people offline as fast as we can, right? Because we run brick and mortar businesses, okay? We run real businesses. We're not these online faceless people that hide behind our computers. No, we need to deal with our accountants face to face every single day. So that's really what I'm going to show you guys how to do today. So the good news for you is that everything that we do and that we teach, so for those of you that have seen any of our webinars before, you will have seen this. We call this our signature solution, and this one is no different. Really, I'm going to teach you LinkedIn. There's really three main phases to this process, and then I just break the phases down into smaller bite-sized chunks so it's easy for you to actually get your heads around it. So the first piece that we're going to talk about is all about the preparation. And there what we're going to do is we're going to look at our client avatar. We're going to look at the message that we need, and we're going to look at the profile, right? So all of this really today, even though you might have seen a lot of this before in some of the other webinars that we've done, today the focus is very, very specifically on LinkedIn. All right, so it's a little bit different to what you would have seen before, because I'm trying to teach you how to really get the most out of this particular platform. So that's where I'm going to go with all of this for you today. And then once we've sorted out our preparation phase, then we get to the next piece, and this is where we have to go ahead and we need to connect with people, right? So the connection is really, really important, and this is where we get to go and say to all of those strangers at the Big Business Breakfast, hi, I'm Joe, I'm an accountant, how can I help you? And we'll show you that process. And then of course I'm going to show you how to get Joe to come back to you and say, yes, absolutely, I really need you to help me, here's my business, here are the issues that I'm having. So we'll show you how to do that. And then of course the last thing is how to engage, right? So once we've made that connection, the next piece now is to keep it going, right? Because there's got to be some sort of communication. All we're trying to do on LinkedIn is to connect. We're trying to open the communication channel, and then through that communication channel, we want to get them into a face-to-face consultation with us. And for most of us, that's going to actually be literally face-to-face, as in you can touch each other. But in some instances, it doesn't have to be. So in my case, for example, where I have clients all over the world, it doesn't matter to me. I'll talk to people all over the world. We just do Skype or Zoom or something like that. Right, so let's jump into the preparation phase, and let's go and have a look at all of the pieces that we need to put in. So we have to prepare, we've got to get our profile right, we've got to get our messaging right, so that when we start to reach out to people, they don't look at us and say, who's this person? They look at your profile and everything that we've done, and they say, yes, I actually need that particular accountant in my business right now. So really what I want you to do is, if you're sitting in this situation where we've got 600 million people at the business breakfast, I want you to think about what it would be like from the perspective of your prospect. So now they're looking out and understand something. When people are on LinkedIn, they go there really for three reasons. They go to buy, or they go to sell, or they go to get information. So there's a very, very good chance that your prospects are looking for information, but they're also looking for you. And all that you have to do is you've got to position yourself in the right way. So if you kind of think about being found in this big marketplace of 600 million people, think of them as the grains of sand on that beach over there. If you're a grain of sand and you're just invisible, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to actually do that. So actually what you want to be is you want to be that big, bright red umbrella, so that even though there's this so-called sea of sameness, and even though there's 600 million people at this business breakfast, when people come in, you want them to see that big red umbrella, you want their eyes to focus on there and to walk over to you. And then when they get there, of course, you want to be in a position to actually convince them that you are the person that's going to solve their problem. So the way that we do that is we dominate our niche. Now I'm going to talk about niche in just a minute, because you'll see when we talk about the LinkedIn ecostructure, LinkedIn has structured things in such a way that if you are dealing in the business-to-business space, it is laughably easy to find and to connect with the people that you need to do. So that's the very first thing that we must do. And in this case, I'm going to talk about a niche, let's call it a specific industry. So you might want to go after lawyers or plumbers or HVAC consultants, whatever it happens to be, as long as it's in the business-to-business space, because that's obviously where LinkedIn is very, very strong, that's where you want to go. And then because you've actually picked a niche, and I'm going to show you how to actually unlock it, you then become the dominant figure in that niche. And that's really the goal here, so that when people do find you and they look at that red umbrella, they know without a shadow of a doubt that red umbrella belongs to the dominant player in that particular niche. So let's just talk about this concept of ideal client for a second. I'm not going to go into this in the greatest of detail right now, because I've done it in a number of the previous webinars, and you guys can go and pick up the replays for that. But there's two things that are really important that I just want to touch on today, because these are the two things that you're really going to take and you're going to use that in your LinkedIn profile. And this is really going to help you to hone in to find your audience. And I'm going to show you how to do that in the second step in just a moment. But the very first thing that we want to do is we do want to pick a niche. And as I said, that niche is just an industry type specialization. And the reason for that is that they become very easy to find, because LinkedIn obviously asks people when they actually fill in their profile who they are, what they do, what sort of industry they're in. And that's great news for us as advertisers, because LinkedIn will show us that information, whether we actually pay for it or whether it's free. And in many cases, it is actually free. And it gives us an opportunity to actually read through a profile and to see exactly who that person is, so that we can make a really intelligent assessment as to whether we can help them, and if we can, then what's going to happen just now is we're going to actually reach out to them, and then the whole process is going to start. So I won't go through this in great detail, but I want you to go ahead and to have a look at this. All I want you to know is that in the back of your mind, I want you to just choose a niche, and for the sake of the rest of today, just pick something, right? So think about your best clients, right? Think about your existing clients and say to yourself, okay, well, who's my best client? What industry are they in? And if they're not in a B2B space, a business to business space, then pick somebody else, okay? Because this is going to be really important for you today, because LinkedIn definitely is the business to business network, as opposed to, say, Facebook, where it's more business to consumer, right? So we want to focus on that. So just make sure that you pick something that's relevant, and just use that example in the back of your mind and sort of apply it as we go through the rest of the training, and you'll see how valuable it is. And in fact, at the end of the training, you may just take that very same niche and actually take what I teach you and go ahead and implement it, right? So that's important. And really the best way to start, I found, is to just go ahead and to look at your existing clients, work out who your best clients are, and then just expand it from there. So this piece is very, very important. In previous webinars, you'll have seen I really do go to town on this. I'm not going to go to town today, but what I do want to tell you is when you're actually creating your LinkedIn profile, this is the information that you want, because this is information that you want to reflect back to people. You want to actually show them that you know what's going on in their business better than they do. And the moment you can actually articulate what's going on in their heads better than they can, then what happens is they automatically credit you with being the person that has the solution for them. And that's why, if we actually use this information in a very strategic way, we can create a LinkedIn profile that when somebody gets there, they look at it and they say, oh, goodness me, this is the accountant I've been looking for, for the last X amount of years. So really, you can see it's actually broken down into two different pieces. So I call this the pains and gains, really. So the pains are, what are their frustrations and fears? And then what are the wants and aspirations? So the only people that really are driven more by wants and aspirations are your entrepreneurs. Everybody else is driven by pain. So you'll know those true entrepreneurs. Those are the guys that go do stuff, and then they come to you later and they say, oh, I've done X, Y, Z. Can you please fix it? Right? These are the guys that leap before they think. They're crazy. They do things, but they go getters. They get stuff done. If you're dealing with them, then you in your LinkedIn profile, you want to talk about a lot of aspirational stuff. If not, and it's like 90% of everybody else, the story, bad news sells. Well, that's fine. Go ahead and let's talk about the frustrations and fears. So really what you want to do, we've got 6 questions here. What is the biggest daily frustration? What is the biggest daily struggle? The next thing is what's the biggest daily obstacle? And here's the granddaddy down here, right? So if you answer nothing else of these 6 questions, you want to answer this one here. What keeps them awake at night? And then you take that information and you go ahead and you pop it into your LinkedIn profile. And we're going to talk about that in a lot more detail in just a minute. This is just giving you a little bit of background on how you find that information. And then, of course, the wants. What you'll find, these wants over here are generally the polar opposite of the frustration. So if somebody says, you know what, I'm having such difficulty, it's such a frustration because I don't get my accountant, as in the internal accountant or the bookkeeper, to give me proper cash flow projections every day, then what are they going to want? They're going to want somebody to give them proper, valid cash flow projections every day. And then, of course, the last one here, the aspirations. Think about yourself. Why did you get into this business, right? You wanted to create maybe financial freedom, security. You wanted to look after your staff, your family, your clients. Maybe you wanted to have freedom of time, and then you realize that you're the worst boss in the world, right? Because it never kind of works that way. We just work harder and harder. Whatever it is, this is the basis of understanding your ideal client. Because the minute you understand this stuff, right, it actually enables you to write the right copy. And when you're actually talking to them, and later on when you're communicating backwards and forwards, they will get to know that you are absolutely the right person for them. So, once you actually crack this conundrum of who your ideal client is, this takes you away from that shotgun approach, right? Where we just like throwing stuff out there. We don't know who's coming into our business. And in fact, if you look at your business today and you think about the organic growth that you've had over the last number of years, every single person I speak to looks at their business and says, you know what, I've got X amount of clients. Honestly, I wish I didn't have them, and I'd love to fire them. And they just come through this process and, you know what, in the beginning, when you don't know you're going to take anybody into your business, right? This is this shotgun, scattergun approach. But now you are going to know better, right? You can target this. It can be laser targeted. You can go and get specifically the people that you want in the niche that you want. They will appreciate everything that you do, and they will pay you premium prices. Why? Because you are the person with a big red umbrella. And that's really what I'm going to show you how to do today. So this is very, very important and very, very valuable. Right. Now that we know who our ideal client is and who we want to go after, Now what we've got to do is we've got to set out a message, or in our case, messages, in such a way that when we put those messages out there and they come to our profile, right, and they look at our profile in the sea of 600 million other people, they resonate with it. So there's two types of messages I want to talk to you about. And it's very important that we have this magic message, because that's what it looks like. We've got to have that big red umbrella, right, so that we can actually stand out in that big crowd over there. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So the first message I want to talk to you about is what I call the magic promise. Okay, now remember, if you've been on previous webinars and we've spoken about the magic message, this is a little bit different. This message is specifically created for you to operate on LinkedIn. So what we're doing here is we're taking the infrastructure in LinkedIn and we're actually molding what we've got to that infrastructure. Because once we do that, it becomes very easy to operate. So here is the magic promise. So the formula, if you like, is if I could guarantee you, and then the first thing we're going to put in there is the result I know 100% that you really want in a specified amount of time, would you be interested? Okay, so let's look at one or two examples there. So this is my example, right? If I could guarantee you 3 to 5 qualified accounting leads every week, would you be interested? Right. So if you're on this webinar, chances are the answer to that is yes. Let's have a look at another example over here. If I could show you how I generated 30 new management consulting clients paying a 10,000 Rand a month retainer each within a 45-day period, would you be interested? Okay, so I think you're starting to kind of get the picture there. So let's have a look at something that you might do. If I could show you how to save up to 15% on your tax bill in the next 6 months, would you be interested? Okay, so you can see we're not going into the nitty gritty, but we're giving people a really good idea, and there's kind of a metric and a timeline in this whole thing. So here's a question for you. What is it that you can do? Right, so think a little bit about what you're doing, and maybe just jot one or two things down, or at least make a mental note of what you can do. Then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at the specialist industry formula. Okay, so the two of these are going to work hand in hand, because remember when I said we're going to pick a niche? Well, this is really driving that decision, what niche we're picking and how we're going to position ourselves within that niche. So here is the formula. I am a what specialist to which industry or profession. Okay, so let's have a look at what that looks like. So I am a sales training specialist to the medical profession. Let's have another look. I am a lead generation specialist to the accounting profession. So that's me. Let's look at an industry one. You could be a tax specialist to the motor industry. Right, so it's very simple. You just want to actually go and hone in and tell people exactly who you are and exactly what you do, so that when they find that red umbrella and they come and they look at your profile, they know that you are the person that they need to speak to. So this really takes you from being invisible in that crowded marketplace of 600 million people to being totally irresistible. Can I have an R, please? Okay, here we go. All right, now that we got that silliness out the way, let's look at the profile. Now, this is the first really important piece, because there's no point in having a red umbrella and sticking it up there when everybody comes to that red umbrella and your profile is crabbish, right? Because you're just going to look like a fool. So what we got to do, the very first thing we've got to do to build up your authority, is to create a very powerful profile. So let's talk a little bit about your LinkedIn profile makeover. And remember, when you actually online and you actually go ahead and you reach out to different people, what typically is going to happen is about 30% of those people will actually go and view your profile. So before they even accept your connection request, they're going to go and have a look at, well, who is this person that's asking me to connect, and why would I actually want to connect with them? So very important to go ahead and do that. Now, this is just an example of my current profile. I do change it up a bit depending on what I'm doing, and I'm just going to take you through this. And really, you can just go ahead and literally just model this. Obviously, you're going to do it for your industry and obviously your profile, but the concepts and the principles are very standard, and you can simply go and swipe this. And a little bit later on, I'm actually going to show you where you can actually get hold of worksheets that you can actually fill in to do this. So I've actually gone one step better for you guys with this. So the very first thing that you see up at the top there is what we call a banner. So that banner is a banner that I've been able to actually put up there, and you can see there's the lead and client generation specialist to the accounting profession. Okay, so that's how I use the second of our formulas. I simply put it in the banner. So when people get to the LinkedIn profile, you can see I'm not cluttering that banner, but it talks to them. And then you can see on the right hand side there's the copy of my best-selling book, and then obviously my profile photo on the left. Speaking of the profile photo, this is very important. Okay, a lot of people don't do very good profile photos at all. So what you want to do is to have a very clear profile photo. Let it be sort of a headshot. Yeah, so people want to see your eyes, they want to see you smiling, they want to see that expression, they want to see if they can relate to you. So don't have one of these things where you're at a party or you've got like a million trees in the background, so the background is blurry, or you're standing there with your dog or your friend or your girlfriend or your significant other. Don't do that, okay? This is a business platform. People are here to buy stuff, and you're an accountant. You have almost a duty to have a really, really good profile out there. So you can see that you don't have to be stuffy and professional, right? You don't have to be Mr. Suit and Tie guy, but you've got to have a really, really good profile. You've got to have a clean picture, and that's what you want, and make sure that you're smiling. Okay, that's really, really important. So once we've done that, then we get into kind of the calling card part. And really, if you look at that, this is very, very important, because this is really telling them exactly who you are. This is a quick 1-2 punch summary of where you're at. So you can see there, James Malfetus, chartered accountant. So I'm telling them who I am and what I am. And in my case, chartered accountant is very important, because I'm holding myself out to be a lead and client generation specialist to the accounting profession. So accountants want to know that I actually understand them. And then you can see the second of our formulas there. If I could give you a minimum of 3 to 5 qualified exclusive accounting client leads every week, would you be interested? Right. So somebody that comes to this page, they've had a look at my banner up at the top, they've had a look at my headline effectively, because that's what it is, and they know what I'm doing. They can make a very, very quick decision as to whether they're in the right place. If they're not, that's fine. Let them bounce, because I can't help. If you're a plumber, I'm not your guy, right? If you are an author or a speaker, I'm not your guy. You have to be an accountant. Otherwise, go away. I'm not your guy. And you want to do that as well. You want to position yourself to make sure that you have that red umbrella. So when people actually come in, they know that you are the person. Now we get into arguably the most important piece, and this is what we call your summary. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a minute. But that's the next piece. And your summary really is essentially a sales letter. So LinkedIn is actually set up in such a way, when you go through it and you sort of follow their prompts, it looks like it should actually be a CV. But actually, that couldn't be further from the truth. Remember, when LinkedIn first started, it started into that marketplace, right? It started as a job board. And that's why they've kind of kept that CV piece. And LinkedIn has two very, very distinct parts to it. There's the job piece, and then there's the business piece. Now, we don't care about the job piece right now for the sake of what we're doing right now. We're on the business piece. So I want you to get out of that job piece. Okay, so it's not a CV, it's a sales letter. So it's like a landing page, it's a sales letter, it's everything all in one. It's a website, and that's why it's got to be so powerful. So even though, as you'll see in a moment, there's only 2,000 characters, it really has to punch home when people actually get to it. So in your LinkedIn profile makeover, when you get the slides, you can simply go ahead and fill this in, right? So you can see there, we speak about your background. So there's the first of our formulas, the what specialist to the which industry or profession. And then, of course, the question that we need to ask, that's essentially the offer. If I could give you a result that you 100% really want in a specific amount of time, would you be interested in? There's a couple of examples. So you can just go ahead and fill that in. And that's the first piece taken care of. Now, let's get into the detail of the summary. Now, if you can't read this, don't panic. You're not supposed to be able to read it right now, depending on which device you're watching this on. But when you get the slides, you should be able to actually read it when you go through it. And really, what I've done is I've literally copied and pasted my entire LinkedIn profile. Now, that is 2,000 characters. And I promise you, yes, I used every single one of them, and so should you. And it's actually quite a challenge to be able to say what you need to say in those 2,000 characters. So because of that, what I've done is I've broken it up for you into 5 little bite-sized chunks. And really what you've got to do is you've got to be economical with your words, but you've got to get across a lot of information so that they know that they're in the right place, they know what you can do for them, and they know that they need to either reach out to you or to positively respond when you reach out to them. So let's have a look at the first piece. The first piece is the profile summary. Now, that's really your opening paragraph. Now, what happens is when you get into somebody's profile, the very, very first thing that you see is only a small piece of information. And then you're going to have to click on a little read more button in order to actually go ahead and to see the rest of the profile. So this piece is almost the most important piece, because if you get this wrong, people are saying, this is rubbish, and they move on, right? This is where you've got to have a hook. You've got to grab them literally by the throat and pull them in so that they're prepared to actually go ahead and to click that button. So if we look at mine, let's have a look at what we've said there. Don't have the time, the resources, and the knowledge to get a consistent flow of leads into your business. So where does that come from? So remember when we were looking at the pains and gains? That comes from there. So when I was doing that research, this is what I realized. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to reach out with an emotional hot button right away. And now, of course, I'm going to get into the question, right? So here's the second of our formulas. I can give you a consistent flow of qualified leads that convert into fees, clients, and stable cash flow, and we'll do all the work for you. That's important. Why? Because you need a prospect continue to break even, make a profit, and grow your business. Okay, so I've got what I need to get across. So if you are an accountant and you need or want more clients, I'm your guy. Okay, there's no confusion that I'm the guy that's going to help you. If not, well, fine, that's okay. You're going to move on, and you're not going to have wasted my time or yours. So that's great. So this is really important, okay? You start off with that question and let that question hit an emotional hot button. And that's going to be the biggest issue. In other words, what keeps them awake at night? That's the question that you're going to answer there for your particular niche. Then, as we go down now, the second piece really is all about you. So at this point in time, you really need to tell them a little bit about yourself. So it's all very well now you've planted the red umbrella, so now they're looking at the umbrella, they want to know about you, and really they want to actually also know that you relate to them. They want to know kind of where you fit in, can they trust you, who are you, and really what we're trying to do here is we're trying to bond. So this is where we're literally trying to get inside their heads, because the minute we get inside their heads and we can answer, or we can at least articulate their problem better than they can, they automatically, as I said earlier, assume that we have the solution. So let me show you how I do that. So I say, as a chartered accountant, I spent 25 years in the profession. So if you're an accountant, I've already ticked the first box. Why should I listen to him? Okay, well, he's an accountant, he probably knows what's going on. Half as a partner in public practice and half in commerce and industry with both private and listed companies. So I'm just telling people a little bit more about myself so that they know that they can actually chat to me whether they're in commerce and industry or in public practice. And then I say here, sadly, I was forced to walk away from my audit practice in 2011 because I had no idea how to replace a few major clients we lost during the recession. Since then, I've become an internet marketing expert helping accountants get more clients. So you can see, whatever your current situation is, and I didn't go into my sad story today, but the reality is I walked away from a business that I spent 10 years building. And it was painful. Every time I tell the story, it's just as painful as it was back then. It's horrible for me. And the reality is that your situation is probably not as bad as mine was. So if I can help you, because I was in such a difficult situation, then you know that I'm actually going to be able to get you to the result. And all of that is really me telling you a little bit about the bonding. And really, if you think about it, what you want to do is you don't want to be bragging when you put up this profile, right? You want people to actually be able to relate to you on a person-to-person basis, because even though it's a B2B network, a business-to-business network, it's actually person-to-person, and people don't want to relate to and speak to arrogant people, right? They want to know that you like them. And if you can actually be in a situation where maybe you're actually a little bit worse off than them, or you've had clients that are worse off than them, right? Then you're in a position to build great rapport with people. But anyway, this lets people know exactly who I am and why I'm so passionate actually about helping him. So that's just a little bit about me, nothing too hectic. Now what's got to happen is now I've got to build my authority, right? So I've built that empathy. Now I've got to get to the point where I say, listen here, this is why you must listen to me, all right? Because I know what I'm talking about. And you're going to do the same. And again, it's just a couple of sentences. So let's have a look at how I've actually gone ahead and actually done that. So I say I've written 3 books on the subject, including a #1 bestseller, Accounting Clients on Tap. With tongue-in-cheek, the press have dubbed me the marketing accountant because of my unique ability to help accountants get more clients. After working with hundreds of accountants, I learned our world has changed and most accountants have been left behind. Okay, so again, what am I doing? I'm just putting out why you should listen to me. So #1, you can see that I've written a number of books. #2, I've written a bestseller specifically for the profession. #3, I've worked with hundreds of accountants. Okay, so I'm not bragging, I'm just stating a couple of facts, and those facts are all I need to do to establish my credibility and my authority so that I can actually get people to relate to me. And when I reach out to them to say, yep, I should actually talk to this person because he can probably help me. And this is exactly what I want you guys to be thinking about as you go ahead, right? Then the next thing, this is where we get inside the head. So remember when I was saying to you, if you can actually articulate their problem better than they can, then they automatically credit you with having the solution. And this is one of the most powerful concepts in all of marketing, guys. I cannot explain this to you, and I don't know how to actually expand the importance of this, but it's vital. Okay, if you get this piece right, it builds empathy, it builds trust, it builds rapport in an instant. Okay, so you can see here I say that my 3 biggest discoveries are that most accountants' biggest desire is to get more clients consistently. Traditional marketing methods no longer work. everything has moved online, and most accountants have absolutely no idea how to use online marketing methods. Now, I know this to be true because I have dealt with hundreds, if not actually thousands of accountants by now. So I know what the problems are because I talk to them all day, every day. That's what I do. That's my market, and I pay very, very close attention. Now, if you have any of those problems, you are going to resonate with me. And the minute that I say that, if you've gone through this now, I think to yourself and you said, yeah, that applies to me, right? I'm going to be a really, really good option for you should you decide that you need somebody to help you to actually move to the next level. And that's, again, what I want you to do. I want you to position yourselves in such a way that your clients can actually have a look at that when they come and see that red umbrella, and they look at it and they say, yep, those are the problems. Those are the exact problems I'm having in my specific industry. That's why we get very, very specific. That's the accountant that I need to speak to. And then the last piece is what we call the call to action. So just on a more general note, this call to action thing must be everywhere. So anytime you do anything in marketing, I don't care what it is, if you put up an ad, if you do a webinar, if you write a blog post, if you put up a Facebook post, a LinkedIn article, doesn't matter. There must always be a call to action. So we don't just like do stuff for the sake of doing it. We do it for a reason. And whatever that reason is, right, we need to tell people explicitly what to do. So we know what we're supposed to do. We know what they're supposed to do. We know what we want them to do, but if we don't tell them, you cannot assume that people know. So you want to be very, very specific. So if you actually have a look at this, you can see what I've done there. So I say, but no worries, here's what to do next. Okay, there's no doubt. Here's what to do next. Here's the instruction. Okay, I'm about to tell you exactly what to do. Now here's what I do. I say, click the link, right? That's an instruction. I say call to action. Click the link to find out how to get a minimum of 3 to 5 fresh leads every week. And you'll see that I've got a shortened URL, a Google URL. The only reason I did that, honestly, is because I didn't have enough characters. Remember, you've got 2,000 characters and they go fairly fast. And I used every single one of them, and I just couldn't get the big URL, the branding URL, so I had to make it a bit smaller. And then you can see the next piece there, or schedule a discovery call. Now, the reality is that's actually what I want people to do, right? Because remember, that's what we're after. We want to get face-to-face with people. So I want them to schedule a discovery call, and now I'm using the branding. So you can see there, the first part of that is regularclients.com. So that's my website, /James Malfetus calendar. So that's just the link to my calendar. That's what I've called the page. So I'm branding both the company and I'm branding myself. P.S. If you are a progressive accountant looking to aggressively grow your practice, book a call above to find out more about my regular accounting client blueprint coaching program. So what I'm actually doing there is I'm calling out, again, even more specifically in that call to action to my ideal clients. So many people will have got to this point where they've read through everything, but they're not really ready to move to the next level. They're not what I call progressive accountants. So they probably just gloss over it. But for those people that this resonates with, they are going to click that button and they're going to take advantage, because this is an absolutely free consultation. So there's no reason not to do it. And it is a free consultation, right? At the end of the day, in the consultation, all we're trying to do is we're trying to find out what the issues are that our clients are having. We propose a solution, and if they like us and they like the solution, they buy it. They don't, they don't. So this really is a risk-free offer to people, and you should make exactly the same offer, whether you're actually sitting face-to-face, as in literally face-to-face, or you're doing it online. It doesn't matter. And then the next thing you want to do, and this is amazing to me, that people don't want to be found. For goodness sake, we're like accountants. We want people to find us. We need clients to be able to pick up a phone, to send an email, to contact us, right? So I'm going to give you all the information I can. So you can see there is my Skype address, james.malfetus. I give you my email, right? james@regularclients.com. And of course, you already know what the website is. So honestly, if you want to find me, you can find me. I want you to pick up that phone. I want you to actually go get on my calendar. I want you to reach out to me on Skype. I want you to email me. That's how the conversation starts. And that's how we start to build relationships with people, to take complete strangers from this 600 million biggest business breakfast in the world thing to our red umbrella, to where they're sitting face to face with us and they become long-term paying clients. Okay, so that hopefully gives you a little bit of insight into how to create the profile. Okay, really, really important. You must have that profile up and running so that when your audience that we're going to look at now gets there, there is no doubt that you are the right person for them. So let's talk about the audience, because this is really, really cool, right? what you're going to see now is arguably the most important piece, and I'm going to show you a slide in just a minute that shows you how to actually really get to the nub of this. But the first thing is having that killer profile. The next thing is then really being able to define this audience, because LinkedIn actually has these filters that allows us to go out and get them. And remember, I said to you, what's going to happen is when you actually reach out to people and they're thinking about accepting your connection request, they're actually going to go and have a look at your actual profile. So very, very important. And a lot of people will look at your profile anyway. They'll find you actually in the LinkedIn search when you have a really, really good profile. So let's just talk about this concept for a minute of connections, right? Because many times when people tell me that their profile is crubbish or that LinkedIn is crubbish, this is the piece that they just don't really fully appreciate. So this is really, really simple, but let me tell you how simple it is, and let me, maybe more importantly, tell you what the significance is. So really think about, LinkedIn will hate me for saying this, but think about network marketing or multi-level marketing. That's kind of like what this is, like 3 levels deep. So you start off, right? And let's say, let me use myself as an example. I get my father to connect to me. So now my father is a first level connection. So he's like, kind of think of it as your downline. He's like on your first level of your downline, right? Then maybe my father reaches out to my brother. So my brother now is the first level connection to my father, but he's a second level connection to me. And then he goes out and he reaches out to all of his friends, and his friends are now third level connections to me. So everything happens in this first, second, third level connection scenario within LinkedIn. And many times when people are actually searching for information, because remember, they go into LinkedIn to buy, to sell, and to get information, right? So if they're going to buy, then you want to be there and you want to give yourself the best opportunity of being found. So what's really going to happen is when people are searching, the higher up they are in this hierarchy of connections, the more likely you are to see them and the easier it is to reach out to them. Right, so that's very, very important. You want to have the biggest possible network that you can have, because the more that you have, the thing grows exponentially, right? So you can see as you get more and more people, you start to get all of their connections into your network, right? So your second level connections and your third level connections, all of those go into your network. So it's very, very strong. But the real power here is actually your first level connections. So that's our main goal, is to convert them into first level connections. And the reason that that's the main goal is because LinkedIn allows us to use the LinkedIn infrastructure to actually private message them. So you can think of it as a private message or as an email. We'll take your pick. It really comes to the same thing. But the thing that you do know is that every single message that you send within the LinkedIn platform will get delivered 100% of the time. Right now, just to put that in perspective, email marketing, which is the mainstay for a lot of marketers, you know, those delivery rates and open rates can be as low as 0.5%, and if you've got a really, really good list, you know, maybe 20%. So this is massive for you, right? Many times we send out emails and they get caught up in a spam box, or they don't get delivered, or something terrible like that happens. In the LinkedIn infrastructure, because they control it, 100% of the time your message will get delivered. And actually, your message gets delivered in 2 ways. The first is through LinkedIn itself. So when you go onto LinkedIn, you'll obviously get a notification and you'll read your messages. But LinkedIn also send an email. And in many cases, that email also goes through. It's very seldom that email will be blocked, because LinkedIn has a very, very high authority when it comes to internet service providers and email service providers. Okay, so this is why we need these connections. And in particular, this is what we're chasing, our first level connections. Now, this is arguably the most important slide in this deck. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this. And remember, I'll give this to you, so don't panic. But you do need to get this. And when you understand this is the key. This slide is the key to the kingdom. Really, LinkedIn has brought everybody together for us. They've created this platform for us. They're saying to us, just go pick who you want. And this is how we go pick who we want to deal with. Now, the first thing that I want you to understand, if you look at kind of the middle here, there are really 2 different ways to use LinkedIn. So there's a free way, and they call this the basic account, which is pretty good, by the way. Okay? So depending on how aggressively you want to use LinkedIn, a basic account is actually going to get you quite far. And then remember, we said that 39% pay. So one of the products that we can pay for is a thing called Sales Navigator. Now, for us, we are dealing in a situation where we're trying to get leads and convert those leads into clients. I think the name should give this away, Sales Navigator, right? That's the product that we need. So in the South African context, I paid just on 1,000 Rand a month for that. And I think if you pay for a year in advance, you get 2 months free. And there's also a 30-day free trial. Okay, so hold that trial. in abeyance for just a moment. As soon as you've put everything together, like I'm showing you here, and you're ready to rock and roll, then take that trial, get to use it, and see if it works for you. If it does, well, great. Keep paying $1,000 a month, and I promise you, it really is worth it. If not, don't worry, just go back to the free version. So you need to be aware that obviously in the basic version, there's less filters that we can use. So let's talk about the filters now. Remember, when we actually go ahead and we sign up for LinkedIn, they ask us a whole bunch of questions. And the reason they're asking those questions is so that they can profile us. And what they can then do is they can give us as advertisers, or as people using the platform to network, the ability to find the exact people that we think are our ideal clients, right? So as you can see here, there's on the left, under the filters, there's a whole bunch of things, and I'm going to go through those with you. What are the decision points? So why are those filters important? And then right on the end here, I'm going to give you an example. So let me just run through my example. And my example should resonate with you, because that's probably you, because obviously I deal with accountants. So the first filter that we have is keyword, right? So obviously using the keyword, what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to use the industry. So in my case, when I start doing a LinkedIn search, I'm saying to myself, or I key in the word accountant, right? That's the first thing. Then the next thing is location. Now there's two pieces of information that we can get for location. The one is only available in Sales Navigator. So the one that's available in both is the region, right? So for you might be looking at, close to your office. So for you, local is important. So maybe Johannesburg, or maybe you wanted regional. So maybe it's Gauteng, or maybe it's international, maybe it's anywhere in the world, or maybe it's just for South Africa. So you can see here, I could say either South Africa or Johannesburg. So for me, it doesn't matter whether I see people face to face or I chat to them online. Very, very easy for me, right? So I can do that. Then industry, obviously the decision point is industry. The industry I'm looking at is accounting. Then the language. So this one can be important. So you might as well go ahead and tick it, right? Especially in South Africa, where we've got 1,000,001 official languages. We want to preferably be speaking to people that can speak English. And also for my Canadian clients, for example, in Canada we speak French and we speak English, right? So go pick what it is that you want. Now here's the other piece that I was talking to you about, location, right? So this is where you can actually become very, very granular, but this is now only available on Sales Navigator. So you could say a 55-kilometer radius from a particular post address. So in my case, 1609 is Inval, where I'm based. Seniority levels. Now this is awesome, because this allows you to identify who the decision maker is, and then you can go ahead and get them. So in my world, remember, I'm looking for accountants in public practice. I'm not looking for people that are in commerce and industry, because they have very different needs. They are talking about consolidations and deferred tax. The people that I'm talking to are worried about getting new clients into their business. They're worried about paying their bills, paying their staff, etc. So the people that I deal with go by the name of owner, partner, or director. So when I'm using the filters, if I use those three, it immediately allows me to get rid of a lot of the other people that I'm not really interested in. Then obviously the function, again, that's for the decision maker. So LinkedIn will allow you to go in. So once I've gone into here, you can see the industry is accounting. I can look at, okay, who do I want to speak to in that industry? So obviously accounting, but business development could be really useful, right? Or consulting, marketing, and sales, because for bigger accounting firms that have got people dedicated to this, or maybe you as the sole practitioner, you say to yourself, yeah, well, I'm the business development manager, and you give yourself this title because you know that you're the person whose job it is to get more clients. These are different ways for me to actually go in and find different people. What you'll find as you go through this is people call themselves different things. Your job is to, through research and through doing this, you'll start to learn what those things are, and then you're actually able to hone in and to make your searches more and more valuable. And then obviously headcount, this is great, all right? Now we're going to look at the size. So I said to you earlier, I battle a little bit when I start dealing with the big corporates. I don't really typically like to deal with more than 2 to 3 partners, because they can't make a decision, right? Then it becomes like a committee, and it's like, kills me. So I'm looking for self-employed, 1 to 10 and 11 to 50. And if I'm in a space where maybe I just don't have enough people, then I'm going to maybe go to 51 to 200. Okay. Company size, company type. Again, this can be very useful for you, particularly if you're looking to niche into a particular industry. So maybe it's trusts, or it's privately held companies, or partnerships, joint ventures, etc., etc. And then the last one is groups. Now this one is great, because what happens in groups is that people actually form these groups of like-minded individuals, and then everybody that joins the group is part of that group for a particular reason. And LinkedIn actually allows you to identify who those people are, and you can actually reach out to them. So if I was going to go to a group that had something to do with marketing for accountants, as long as I went in there and it was an accountant and not a marketer, I could quite happily actually reach out to that person and have a better than average chance of them actually being interested in a product or service that I sell. So here's a really, really cool tip for you, right? When you join groups, do not join the groups of your peers, okay? They are not ever buying anything from you. Don't do it. Join the groups of your ideal clients. That's the golden rule here. Now, in my case, accountants are my ideal clients, so that's why I've joined accounting groups. But you don't want to join accounting groups. You must join lawyer groups or plumber groups or authors or whatever it is that you're going to be the accountant for. Okay, so this stuff here becomes vitally important. Now, I've only given you on this slide what I consider to be the most important filters. There are others, and if they apply to you, use them, but honestly, I found that if you just use these ones, this is so incredibly powerful, and the amount of information that it gives us is just unbelievable. So really, using LinkedIn, there's no excuse for us not to be able to go in and actually find exactly who it is that we're looking for. Now, what I've got for you guys here, and I'm going to run through this fairly quickly, I've just grabbed a couple of screenshots for you of what it looks like inside Sales Navigator, because a number of you may not have it and you might be considering getting it. So as you can see, the first one up here is industry, and when you click on it, obviously it starts at A, so accounting is the first one, and you can obviously just use the scroll bar to go and see what else is in there. So very, very easy for you to do that. The next one is relationship. So this is first, second, third degree connections and groups, right? So when we are trying to reach out to people, we don't want to reach out to our first level connections because they're already first level. So typically we'll go for second level connections or maybe third, and of course group members. We know the power of groups now, very, very important. Then here is how we go ahead and we apply our preferences. So remember we said for location or geography, there's two. So this is the region. So it could be Africa, Johannesburg, Edenvale, whatever it is. And then of course the next one is if you now do have Sales Navigator here, you can use postal code. And this is really useful where you're trying to target people that are very close to you. So you can see here the geography is South Africa, and I'm saying within 35 miles or 55 kilometers of, and then I would put my postal code in here and it would bring up the people that it knows are fairly close to me in my niche. Very, very, very powerful. Here is seniority, so you can see there's some other opportunities here. So I use owner, partner, and director, as I said, but you can see here these are all your C-suite executives. So chief something, something, something. To be fair, this is more of a US, maybe in Canadian term than a South African term, but we do have chief financial officer, etc., etc. VP, again, that's very American. That stands for vice president. Director, we know manager, senior, entry level, and there's a couple more as you scroll down as well. The function, you can see here, this would now be, once you've chosen your industry, these are the functions within that industry. Again, a lot of really useful stuff. So who's the decision maker that you need to speak to? Very easy to go ahead and define them. And then this is one of my favorites for sure. This is the head count, because this actually gives you an indication, obviously, of how big the company is, so you'll know how long they've kind of been in business, or you'll be able to get a little bit of a gauge. And in my case, as I said, I like to just deal in the first three there, because the minute I get beyond that, I start to find it very difficult to get a decision. And I like decisions, so I tend to play in the space where I can get them fairly quickly. And this is groups. So this is how groups works, right? So you can see here, I just typed in the words marketing for accountants, and what it did below here is it pulled in a number of groups. Now, what I would be able to do now is just literally click on these groups and go and open them and go and see what these groups look like. How many members have they got? I can have a bit of a look as to how active those groups are. And just remember, one thing with groups is you can join a maximum of 100 groups. So what you want to do is you want to get out there and start putting your applications out. I think you can only have 10 applications outstanding at any one time. So don't dawdle with this, all right? Because when you submit a request to become a member of a group, what then happens is you now at the mercy of whoever the group administrator is. Maybe they check daily, maybe they check once a week, whatever. So it can sometimes take a little while for you to be accepted into the group, and sometimes they won't accept you. So what you should do is start connecting to groups, remember, not of your peers, but of your ideal clients. See if you can get connected to as many of these groups as you can, and just keep going until you get to the maximum of 100. Because once you've done that, firstly, you're actually allowed to message people, up to 15 people a month for free in the groups, and over and above that, obviously you're able to see who they are. So it's a very, very good way for you to target who you want to actually reach out to. Right. So those are the filters. This is really the most incredibly powerful thing you can ever dream of. Literally, if you know who your ideal client is and you know who they are in relation to these filters, you can find anybody. It's phenomenal. Okay. Right, now that we found them, now the next job for us is to connect with them. This is really what this whole webinar is about today. So when we look at this, it's all about your connection message. So what's going to happen here is when you have a good profile, people will reach out to you, but you also want to reach out to them. So you're going to be the one that starts the conversation. And your connection message doesn't have to be particularly intense, right? The more personal you make it, the better. So if you go into their LinkedIn profile and you can find something in there that's personal, like maybe they've gone to the same school as you, or you know, they like Manchester United and you like Manchester United, that's going to help you a lot. But even if you're not and you just want to scale this a bit and have something a little bit more generic, you can do something like this. So this is one that I sent out, I think this was when I was targeting the US accountants. I said, "Hi Julie, I came across your profile here on LinkedIn and would love to connect. I'm an accountant from Johannesburg, South Africa, curious to learn about your profession, similarity and differences. Should be interesting. Regards, James." So nothing too hectic there. I'm not threatening, I'm not selling anything, and by the way, we're not selling anything here. We're literally using normal social behavior, right? We just reach out to people, say, "Hey, would you like to connect?" and we build from there. So you can see, not very hectic at all. Here's another one. "Hey Gene, I'm looking to expand my network of XYZ professionals." Or I could say, "Hey Gene, I'm looking to expand my network of accountants. Would you be open to connecting?" It's really simple, right? Non-threatening. Or another example I could say is, "I was browsing your profile and noticed we work in a similar space, so I thought I'd reach out to connect. Regards, James." Okay, really, really simple. All you're trying to do is you're trying to make that first connection. That's all we're trying to do here. Then, of course, once they accept that connection, and LinkedIn will let you know, now you must send them a welcome message. So this is where it starts to get interesting. Again, listen up, because this is where the magic happens. Okay, this is the magic of everything that I've shown you today. Everything up until now has been building up, and how do we do it? This is the magic. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a dual reach out. And the reason we're going to reach out in two ways is because it gives us, obviously, a much better opportunity of closing them. The more platforms you have to talk to people, the stronger it is. So we're going to use the connect piece. Now the connect piece is inside of LinkedIn. The email is we're going to take them out of LinkedIn as soon as we possibly can. So let's have a look at what this looks like. So let's start off inside of LinkedIn. So remember, at this stage, what's happened is we sent them a connection request. They just accepted it. Now we say, "Hi, first name. I hope everything's going great. Quick question. Right, if I could give you a minimum of 3 to 5 qualified exclusive accounting leads every week, would you be interested?" So where have we seen that before? Right, and remember, they would have actually seen that when they went to your profile. That was one of the reasons that we put it up there. And then you just say, "Message me if you're interested and I'll ping you the details." Right, so I'm not saying, "Hey, hire me, I've got this course, I'm the best, blah, blah, blah." It's, "Hey, quick question." And when we ask questions, people feel compelled to actually answer them. I'm just asking the question, "Hey, if I could give you a minimum of 3 to 5 qualified exclusive accounting leads every week, would you be interested?" Now, if you're not, you could just ignore me, and that's fine, all right? I've just asked the question. You could ignore it, so I'm not putting undue pressure on you. But if you do, I'm saying, "Hey, message me and I'll ping you the details." And then obviously I put my name, and then you can see now I'm starting to brand, right? Regularclients.com. So if they want to go back and have a look, I want them to be able to find me, because now I can put that information in. And here's the magic, right? If you look at what I wrote below there, "By the way, I hope you don't mind, but I sent you an email, as I know a lot of people don't check their messages on LinkedIn." Now, that is very true, by the way. So remember, we said about 100 million people check every day, but they don't all check every day. And what we typically find is that a lot of people will only check once or twice within 7 to 31 days. Okay, so it's very important for us to get to them through other means. So what we're trying to do is to take them off LinkedIn as soon as possible and send them an email as well. So now we have another example here, as we can see. So this would be for an accountant, right? So, "Hi, first name. I hope everything's going great. Quick question. Are you aware that there's currently a legal way to save," whatever it is that you want to put in there, whatever the service is that you want to promote at this stage, "on your tax, mortgage, retirement benefit, etc." So just modify it to fit whatever your particular practice is and the niche that you've chosen. If you don't know, send me a message and I'll ping you the details, right? Now think about that. In your case, it's even more powerful, right? Because you have very specialized knowledge that a lot of people just don't have. And the minute you're going to save them money, everybody's going to be interested in that. And then I guess you'll say, "Regards, Tim." And then again, at the bottom there, "By the way, I hope you don't mind, but I've sent you an email, as I know a lot of people don't check their messages on LinkedIn." Smiley face, right? Let's have a look at another one. So if you were a business broker, for instance, hi, first name, I hope everything is going great. Quick question, have you ever considered selling your business? Message me if you have, I'd love to speak to you. Regards, Brian. And then, of course, by the way, I've sent you an email message below that again. Now, let's now talk about this so-called email message, because the reality is both of these are going to go out kind of at the same time. So literally, you send the one and then you send the other at the same time. So let's have a look at what that email looks like. So remember, you sent them a message on LinkedIn, and now you're going to send them the email as well. Now, one of the great things about first level connections, by the way, which I didn't tell you a little bit earlier, is that they give us their email address. And many times it's actually going to be their work email address, or if not that, a personal email address that they actually check. So now we have great power, because as we're building up our LinkedIn profile, we're actually building up our email list as well. So now it becomes doubly powerful. And actually, when you actually add email to it, it probably trebles your results. So if you do this without email, you'll get good results. If you add email, you get 3 times the results. So if I were you, I would add email. So here's an example. So the subject line would be thanks for connecting. So why is it that? Because they're going to, in many cases, think, who the heck is this? Why are you sending me this? Who are you, you crazy person? Because remember, they received a connection request, and people receive connection requests all the time, right? They said yes, and maybe they're not quite attuned, or maybe this comes a couple of days later and they're busy. So we just want them to know where we got the information, so they don't think we're a spammer. So we reference the last thing that we would have done together. Thanks for connecting. Hi, first name, we just connected on LinkedIn, appreciate it. Okay, so now even if they don't remember, they can go back to LinkedIn and check, right? So that's probably what they're going to do. The reason I emailed you is because many people rarely check their LinkedIn, and I'd like to ask you if you have capacity for more accounting clients. Okay, so again, all we're doing is the mirror image of what we did in the message. So the two messages are both out there and they're referencing each other. So when we send them the LinkedIn, let's call it the SMS message, we tell them that we sent them an email, and in the email we tell them that we sent them another message. And the message is the same. If I could generate you a minimum of 3 to 5 qualified exclusive accounting client leads every week for a small fee, would you be interested? Message me if you're interested, and I'll ping you the details, James. Okay, really as simple as that. And of course, because this is email, you'd have your full signature there, right? So you'd have all of your details as you normally would in whatever your current email signature is. Right, so as you can see, when you combine that, it becomes really, really powerful. Now, with the best will in the world, okay, people are busy. Right. So as much as they would love to jump on with you and talk to you, it's not that they're ignoring you. It's just like life got in the way, like a client had a crisis, and so therefore you got put on the back burner. So in order to overcome this, you must follow up, right? And the great thing about following up, as you'll see in a moment, is that we can use the power of automation. So follow up is important. Now let's talk about the strategy, because as soon as you know the strategy, this becomes really, really simple for you. So at a very, very high level, remember, what we are trying to do in this whole process is to get a face-to-face meeting, right? Whether that's literally face-to-face, where we have coffee together, or that's face-to-face on Zoom or Skype. So we've just said that we have 2 ways of doing that. Of course, we have the email way to do it, and we have the ability to use the LinkedIn infrastructure. So let's talk about email for a second. Now, we may send that first email and we don't get a response. Well, because they haven't got it, or they glossed over it, or they got busy, or whatever. So on day 7, and now remember, this is all automated, right? Or it can be automated. Day 7, we now send another email, and if they still haven't responded, on day 14, we send another one, and then maybe on day 25, because at this point, like if they really haven't responded, maybe they are telling you they're not really interested. And we don't want to spam people to death, right? We want to give them the opportunity by following up and showing them that we take care of our clients. But, point comes where you've got to say, all right, maybe they're not interested, and then we want to walk away, because you don't want to irritate people unnecessarily. And then, of course, on the other side, we can do something similar on LinkedIn. So there's a very subtle distinction here that I want to make for you, though, which is important. When you're using the LinkedIn infrastructure, you have to guard your LinkedIn profile with your life. Let me say that again. Okay, the LinkedIn profile is so important. Okay, you have to guard it jealously. Don't do anything, okay, that's really going to jeopardize it. So if you do and you get your LinkedIn profile closed down, sure, you can start another one, right? But it takes you back to square one, and you've put in all of this effort. So you don't want to do that, and you've got to be careful on LinkedIn, because if you start spamming people, they will slap you. They'll say to LinkedIn, I don't know this person, and eventually LinkedIn will ultimately ban your account, and that's the last thing that you want. So just play nice, play by the rules. And that's another reason we take them offline, because as soon as we've got them into email, email doesn't matter as much. We've got a lot more latitude. We can send them different offers. We can send them information. We can tell them when legislation changes. We can do all sorts of things that we can't typically do within LinkedIn. Because remember, they come on LinkedIn. What are they there for? They're there to buy, to sell, and to get information. So we don't want to overwhelm them. But we can certainly use some of this information. So what's happening with all of this information that's going out there, all those emails, and maybe that last LinkedIn message, which might be, say, every month, we are trying to push them to that consultation. That's what this whole thing is designed to do. All right. And literally it's backwards and forwards, giving people good information, building relationships, and giving them that opportunity to have that consultation. And remember, that consultation is free, so it's a no risk scenario for them. Okay. Now, the other thing that I think is important, one of the best ways to do this, if you can, but I know we're busy, right? The best way is definitely going to be to do it manually, right? Because you're going to sit down, you're going to go through it, you're going to read through everything, every single profile, and you can pick the right people. But really, it can be quite time consuming. There are tools out there that will allow you to automate both the LinkedIn piece and, of course, the email piece. So if you want to actually accelerate the pace of this, then you would go ahead and you would use those automation tools. And really, automation just it automates the heavy lifting. And then, of course, the last piece there is just for you to go and close the sale. Now, again, guys, this is not rocket science. This is so easy. Don't do anything out of the ordinary here, right? All you're going to do when they come to you and you're in this consultation, they're going to tell you what their woes are, because that's what they do. And you do nothing more than you do every single day in your practice. You just handle the consultation, you listen to their issue, you reflect it back to them, and you propose a solution. And that's how you close them as a client. So really, it's pretty simple. And that's really the whole process, where you go from taking people from no leads down the bottom here at point A, and you just follow the process I've just given you here, and you get them up to point B. So what I want to do now, just before I jump into questions, I've got an offer that I want to show you. We're actually launching a program next month which might be beneficial to you. So if you feel that you'd like some help with what I've shown you today, then you can jump on board here. If not, I promise you, I've given you everything. I'm not one of those people that holds things back and you get different things on the course. Obviously on the course I can give you a little bit more detail and I can really hold your hand and help you to do it. But really, you're going to get the slides, and I'll show you how to get the slides at the end of this. You certainly can do it yourself. But if you are interested, we're doing what we call a beta group, right? So what I always do when I create new products, and I'm in the process of actually creating a digital product out of LinkedIn, like I've got over here, which obviously I'm going to go ahead and sell, I like to get my hands dirty. So I like to actually get involved with people on a very, very close basis for a few weeks, so I can find out what all of the problems are, so that when I create that final product, it really is a stellar product. And the reason, it's kind of a selfish reason, because if I don't, I tend to get a lot of support calls, and I've kind of realized over time I'd rather not have them. So if I actually go ahead and use this method, it's much easier for me to go ahead and create a good product. So what we're going to do is we're running a 5-week implementation program where I'm going to get my hands dirty with you guys. I'm going to spend a lot of time, and we're going to literally go into everything that I've shown you in the most minute of detail. So if we have a look at it, the very first week is really all about your ideal client. And honestly, I can tell you this without question: the most important thing, okay, that I can ever give you, the most important gift, the most important thing without question that I teach, and I teach a lot of stuff, it's how to identify your ideal client, because it's so misunderstood, and the minute you do, right, it just changes everything. So we're going to look at the profile itself. I'm obviously going to look at the niche. I'm going to show you how to get inside the head, literally, to answer all of those questions. I'm going to show you how to do the research, how to actually find the information, and of course we're then going to take that information and we're actually going to use it to craft our profile. Right, so that's going to be very, very important when we do that. So the first session is all about the avatar, and then obviously taking that information and creating the profile that we spoke about today. Then we're going to show you how to find that perfect audience. So we spoke a lot about those filters. I'm going to show you how to use those filters, and there's some other really, really cool tricks that I couldn't show you now. There's one thing in particular called Boolean search, which really allows us to hone in and to exclude people that we don't want. So if I was, for example, looking for accountants, I could exclude the word trainee accountant, because a trainee accountant doesn't need the products and services that I'm selling. And we'll show you how to do that with Sales Navigator. That's going to be important, I think. So especially if you want to take it to the next level, Sales Navigator is almost a must. But again, as I said, you can use it or not, but we'll definitely show you how to use it. So if you do jump onto this course, do not activate your free trial until we've built your profile and everything else. Then of course we're going to talk all about connecting. So this is the important part. This is really all about the messages, right? I'm going to give you a lot of the templates. We're going to show you how to do it, and of course ultimately we want to get them to actually connect to us onto our calendar. So we'll show you how to actually go ahead, build out your calendar, how to automate that whole process so that people can actually go from your LinkedIn profile directly onto your calendar. Then we're going to talk about email marketing. So this is so important that I'm actually going to spend a whole session on it. So I'm going to show you how to set this thing up technically. I'm going to show you how to make sure that we get delivered, how we don't deliver spam. And the best thing I can do for you is just give you templates, right? So there's a bunch of templates. Literally, you're going to just change out the information in the template. Some of them I'll show you my own stuff. You just change out my information for yours or the template information for yours. It's really pretty simple, but there's a lot to this. And this skill here, by the way, this skill you will elevate, and you will use this skill outside of this literally for the rest of your business life. It is one of the most valuable skills that you can have. So we'll show you all about that automation, and then what we're going to do is we'll have a Q&A session right at the end, in I think that's week 5, just to get you unstuck. And remember that because this is a beta program, it's very, very important to me. I need you guys to actually get through the process, right? So that's the situation. So let me run through this with you very, very quickly, just to remind you what you get. Okay, so you're going to get the first week where we're going to identify your ideal client, and obviously we're going to create the profile, so that's valued at $5,000. Second week, how to find your perfect audience. So now that's very, very LinkedIn specific, so that's also valued at $5,000. Then what we're going to do in the third week is we're going to show you how to create your connections and actually how to connect. Then we're going to triple your conversions with email. Okay, this is really important. You're going to use this forever and ever. And then, of course, in week 5, we've got that Q&A webinar and some other bonuses. We've got some other people potentially lined up for you guys. It's really, really exciting. So that's a total value of $20,000. In addition to that, I looked at this and I said, well, how can I actually create such insane value for you that you just have to jump onto this course? Now, I created something a little while ago called the Ideal Client Clone. Now, this is a comprehensive course that I've created, which goes into a lot more detail than we'll be able to go into even on the 4-week or the 5-week course on how to identify your ideal client. Really, I go into all of the questions, show you exactly how to do it, how to do the research. So this is something that you'll be able to use really for the rest of your life. So that's valued at $5,000. And then what I've got here is a bonus sales funnel. So a lot of you will know that we do a lot of sales funnel stuff. Now this funnel I haven't actually given to anybody. This funnel, it dovetails particularly well with this exact strategy that we're using on LinkedIn. So this funnel, it's the one we use in our own business. In fact, it might be one of the reasons you're on this particular webinar, depending on where you've come from. This funnel is absolutely awesome, and it works very, very similar to the LinkedIn profile. So the two run hand in hand, and will actually enable you to get even higher conversions and value out of your email marketing. So just to have a look at that again. So we've got the course itself, the 5 modules valued at 20,000 Rand, the Ideal Client Clone, which we sell for actually more than $5,000 to be quite honest, and the Tripwire funnel, which nobody else is getting except for the people on this program. So that's valued at $30,000. And then what I have found as I'm talking to people, accountants, they're saying to me, you know what, people are coming to us via our website or from various means, but we're just not closing a high enough percentage. Now, one of the reasons you're not, if that's you, is that your targeting is maybe a little bit poor. Obviously, we're going to increase your targeting, but I want you to also have the facility to actually be able to confidently close clients. So I've actually got a methodology that works really, really well, and it's developed for accountants, right? It's developed by an accountant for an accountant. So this is a consultative process. It's something that I promise you will be very comfortable with. It's not going to make your skin crawl, which a lot of accountants, I know we hate selling, right? Because otherwise we'd have been in a different profession. This system has allowed me to 5x my close rate. Okay, so I am 5 times more efficient now with this system than I was before it, and I'm going to share that with you guys. And then the last bonus, and this is probably going to be today only, is a 2-for-1. So if you want to bring a colleague with, or you want to bring some of your clients with, or if it's me, I'm bringing a staff member with because I'm getting them to do all the hard work. Well, when it comes to the research and that, you can obviously jump onto that. That was something that was requested by a couple of people, so we said, all right, what the heck, we'll throw it in. So again, lastly, just to show you, we've got the course valued at $20,000. We've got the Ideal Client Clone, really one of the most valuable products I've ever created, valued at $5,000. The Tripwire funnel, again, it links very, very specifically with this LinkedIn funnel. The Close More Clients system, just really simple consultative sales system for accountants, and of course the 2-for-1 bonus valued at $5,000. So that's a total value of $40,000. Now you probably know I'm not going to charge you $40,000, but if I did, okay, and all this did was to give you one automated sales funnel online that you could drive traffic to anytime you needed 2 to 5 new leads a week, would that be worth it? Would it be worth $40,000 if all it did was to help you to define your ideal client, so that you can make sure that you get only premium clients coming to you as opposed to going to your competitors? Would that be worth it? And if all it did was to teach you that no pressure, no sales, no salesy, I like to say actually, sales system that allows you to close maybe just one additional client a year, okay? I should allow you to close a lot more, but just one a year, would that be worth it? So I had a couple of decisions that I had to make when I was deciding on this. Being a beta program, I had to say to myself, well, I can make it as cheap as possible to get as many people in. And I decided no. I actually decided that what I'm rather going to do is I'm going to work with just 10 people. I'm going to work with 10 people that I can really get my hands dirty with, find out what all the problems are, 10 people that I can make sure get over the line, so that the program is definitely successful for them. So it's a slightly high investment, but as you'll see in a minute, it's not particularly high at all. So again, how much would one funnel be worth to you per year that got you, again, just one client a year, never mind one a month? And it doesn't matter whether it's the LinkedIn funnel or the sales funnel that I showed you, how much would that be worth? And just to give you some perspective, by the way, if you want me to build you a sales funnel, we start off at $60,000 depending on what you want. So I'll build you a funnel happily if you pay me that. So I think you can see what the value of this is, and people do pay this money. So if you actually want to jump on and you want to go and register, there's the link below. It's www.regularclients.com/LinkedIn. Okay, so that's obviously our site /LinkedIn. And as you can see, for today it's only $4,999. So it's a ridiculous price, and it's only a ridiculous price because we're doing the beta program. So to be honest, I'm going to learn as much from this program as you are. So it's kind of a win-win scenario, but I'm going to work very, very closely with you. So if you want to jump on regularclients.com/LinkedIn. So now you've got two choices, right? You go back to the office and do nothing because you came, you had a great session today, you learned some stuff, maybe you use it, maybe you don't, and you get your CPD certificate. Or you can jump on, you can make that small investment and really put that in place, get that machine working for you, get those 2 to 5 leads a week, and start building up your sales funnel and literally closing new clients every single month. And just so you know, everything that we do, we fully guarantee. Okay, so if you're not 100% satisfied, that you get at least 10 times your value from the money that you spend, okay, we'll refund it to you. So literally, here's my offer to you. Watch the first 2 webinars. If after the first 2 webinars you say this is the biggest rubbish ever, fine, I'll refund your money. But I know you won't, because I know how successful our products are and we back everything. So again, if you want to jump on, it's 100% guaranteed, so it's risk-free. regularclients.com/LinkedIn. So just one last time, just to tell you what you get. You get obviously the LinkedIn Funnel Fast Start live webinars. That's valued at $20,000. The Ideal Client Clone valued at another $5,000. You get the Tripwire funnel, which no one else has got. No one else is getting for $5,000. The Close More Clients system takes that pressure off you doing any closing. The 2-for-1 bonus valued at $5,000, and obviously that's a $40,000 value, and we've really knocked that down to 10%. So or maybe just a touch more. So here we are at $4,999, and if you want it, you can jump on at regularclients.com/LinkedIn. So when is it? Next month. So we'll do this on a Wednesday. So you can see that's kind of where we've got it pegged for, starting on the 3rd, and literally just each week. As far as time's concerned, I'm not 100% sure. It's going to depend on what the mix is, or the people that jump on, because I've got clients in the South African market, and then I've got other clients in the US and Canadian market. If we have that scenario, what we'll do is where we've got both, is it'll probably be early morning, maybe around about 10ish, depending on the time zone in the US and Canada, which would translate to later in the afternoon here in South Africa. I might split this into 2, depending if we get enough interest. Then it's really easy. I'll probably try to run them at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's the time that we've found to be the best. So it's just going to depend on who jumps on. We'll let you guys know. My preference would be, though, to run it at 10 o'clock for both the 2 separate marks. In other words, I'll do it twice as opposed to you having to jump on twice. So that's it. Without any further ado, I'm going to open up to questions now for you guys. You can see the There's a summary of what you get over there. If you want to jump on, it's regularclients.com/LinkedIn. While I'm waiting for any comments, and please let me know if you've got any comments, if you want to ask any questions. So when I say any questions, I mean about the webinar today. So it doesn't have to be about the offer. Ask about the webinar. If you want to ask anything about the offer itself, ask questions about the offer. If you've got any comments or you want us to cover anything in the future, let us know what that is. If nothing else, I'd just love you guys to pop something into the chat box for me. Let me know where you guys are at and what you thought about today. So if you've got any questions, let me know. So one of the questions that does come through while I'm waiting to see if there's any other questions that come through from you guys is what happens if you miss a session. So if you miss a session, it's not a problem, because we do have a members area where we actually will record all of the sessions and we'll put those sessions into the members area for you. It becomes very important, so at a later stage you can pick them up. And of course, it's not only if you miss them during the session, you'll always have access to that information, so you can come back at any time. So maybe you do it and then life gets in the way, and maybe it's only a couple of months later that you actually start actioning it. Fine, then that's what you'll go back into the members area. Everything is there. So there's going to be all sorts of things in there. There's accompanying checklists, there's worksheets, there's a whole bunch of stuff that come with this to really make it very, very simple for you to actually implement. So everything should be pretty easy there. So okay, Daryl's asked what happens if we miss a session. Hopefully we've just answered that particular question. So you will, as I say, Daryl, not to worry, there is a members area and you'll be able to get access to it. So it doesn't really matter what time. We will try, what I do with this, because there's only 10 people that are going to be on the program, it's going to be quite easy for me to actually take a little bit more trouble just to work out where all of us can get together at the most appropriate time. So it'll kind of be majority rules kind of thing as to what time we do it and when we do it. So we will actually try to do it at a time that's actually available to everybody. So we'll do the very best we can, and we'll go out of our way to set that up. So hopefully we won't be in a situation where you can't come in the normal course of events. If you do miss one, hopefully it's only because the client had a crisis and you had to go. But don't worry, everything will be recorded. It will be in the members area. So I don't know if you guys have got any other questions. Just to confirm, I jump on now. It's 4999. Gene, yep, that's exactly right. It's 4999 if you jump on right now. That's absolutely correct. Margaret says thanks. It was a little bit earlier. Okay, Gene, that's your question from earlier. Sorry, when I'm doing these, I get so involved and I get so passionate. Hopefully you can hear that in my voice, and I concentrate. So sometimes I do miss the questions. I'm sort of picking them up at the end now. So yeah. Anyway, if there are no other questions at this point in time, I just want to say keep an eye on that inbox. Obviously, we do regular webinars. Actually, one that we've had a lot of requests for, which we're going to do quite soon, is how to create a website that actually builds your authority and allows you to generate leads. And actually, it's in many ways, it's actually the logical next step to this, because as accountants, obviously what we need to do is we got to actually build our authority, and once we actually go ahead and we build that authority, it becomes very easy for us to sell. And when I talk about authority, you need a great LinkedIn profile, and you actually also need to have a really, really good website. So Yvonne says, if you don't jump on right now, how long is right now? Yvonne, generally it's for the day. I'll tell you what, I will contact you afterwards. Just pop your details in there. I've probably got them, but just or send me an email and I will talk to you just now. Obviously, you've got some other issue that you want to talk through there. Let me just talk through it with you, and we'll solve your problem on an individual basis. Don't stress about that. By the way, if you do want to get hold of me, it's james@regularclients.com. So what are we going to do after the webinar? We will send you guys an email. So everybody that's registered with whatever the registration email is, I will send you an email which will give you the CPD certificate, and I will send you the slides. Okay, so that you've got what I've given you here. So don't stress about that. If you do want to get hold of me, that's james@regularclients.com. That is my personal email. I answer that. There's no gatekeepers and nonsense. If you want to get me on Skype, so if you're in the Joburg area, great. If not, jump on Skype, or you can phone me. There's my number. I'm very easy to find, as I said, 0827436362. So, without any further ado, I think if there are no other questions, then I just want to thank you guys for jumping on. I think I've we're just on time, 1 hour, 30 minutes. Thanks for joining me. I have to tell you, I really do appreciate you guys jumping on to these webinars. I didn't give you my full story today, but for those of you that know, this is a passion for me, because I was that guy that, I literally walked away from my practice because I didn't know how to get new clients. So for me, it's not just something that I do, it's something that I do with great purpose and great passion. And I just love the profession, so even though I'm not part of the profession, so I don't want to be a practicing accountant like you guys, I still love the people in the profession. It's what I do, it is me, it's what I know, and hopefully that passion definitely comes through. So watch out for the next webinar. We'll shoot that one through to you fairly shortly. Hopefully we're going to see you maybe on the beta program, or otherwise we will see you on the next webinar. So if you want to get hold of me, there are my details, or you can jump to regularclients.com/LinkedIn if that's what you want to do. All right, guys, until then, until we meet again in one of those places, this is James, the marketing accountant, saying thanks for joining me, and we'll see you guys real soon.